Hey, this is the Stocks with Josh show. Guys, we're getting ready to go over 100,000 subs. I think it might happen today. Later today, I'm going to do a live over on Stock Up with Larry Jones's page, and he said he was going to try to help push me over this final marker of 100K, which is kind of a cool accomplishment in this space. I appreciate all of you guys for being on this journey with me. And what is the journey? Well, it's the journey of kicking down the doors of Wall Street and getting our hands on what I refer to as the real American dream, which can't be accomplished anymore by trading your time for money. And oftentimes people are working two jobs, and we know that inflation is completely out of control, driving the cost of housing, food, and gas through the roof. And so you've got to do something more. On this page, we're doing that. We're teaching technicals. I'm sharing plays with you guys. I'm sharing long-term trade portfolio ideas. We're breaking it all down, and we're into crypto. We've had a wonderful show yesterday with Tim. We're going to continue to do Technical Tuesdays with Tim. I was chatting with Larry, and he's like, Josh, that's my branding. You stole my branding. I'm going to lawyer up and come after you. You better come up with a different name for you and Tim. So yeah, maybe I'll go technicals with Tim. I don't know. He's just joking. But guys, there are three reasons that this market is going down. I'm going to break them down for you, and we're going to go into some big tech and some crypto. We're going to look at where these are moving to. I've made some predictions last week. Every single prediction I made has proven to come true this week. I'm going to make some more predictions so that we can stay on top of the direction of this market. But the three reasons the market is going down is because inflation, one of them is because inflation is going up, and the Fed is going to hold rates higher for longer. But after that news gets processed, there's that fear of stagflation. There's the fear of rising inflation, which could have a big impact on obviously the cost of money and obviously on the economy, slowing down various sectors like housing. It's having a big impact in the automotive industry. And so overall, as long as the Fed leaves the rate higher, it does slow down the economy. And so that risk has to be priced in. The higher he leaves it, the longer he leaves it, the bigger the impact, the negative impact on Americans it's going to have, because like I said, it's going to affect every area of their business. And so the Fed has got to bring that rate down. Otherwise, he's going to cause a much bigger recession than anybody wants. That's the risk. But on the other side of that coin, or the other side of that story, is the fact that the reason why inflation is going up is because the economy is still strong. If the economy is still strong, then the companies that are positioned with big bags of cash are going to thrive, whether we have a high or low inflation, or whether we have a high or low interest rate. Big tech companies will thrive. Now, when I'm looking at some of the big tech charts, I'm seeing bullishness. I'm seeing descending channels, which will break to the upside. But there's room for them to come down and touch the bottom of those descending channels. That's what I want to identify with you guys, so you're not confused or buying or taking risk positions at the wrong time, or if you're hedging a risk position, you don't cash it out too early. I'm going to show you where I'm identifying opportunity in a handful of big tech stocks. But let's get into the other reasons. The other reason is we have war, right? We've got rumors of war, and we've got these strikes, these military strikes going back and forth in the Middle East. I warned about this as well last week. I told you when Biden had come out and sued for peace, I said, no, guys, that's an early signal that we're going to have turmoil ahead. So the markets are going to go down because they're going to price in this turmoil. But I'm going to take you guys into a chart, and I'm going to show you that unfortunately, even though it seems morally corrupt, war is good for the stock market. And because traditionally, historically, whenever we've had war, we've had a very strong sell-off that was followed by a strong V-shaped recovery. Now, the third reason that we are pulling back right now, so you got the Fed, you've got war, and the fact is we needed a little bit of correction because the market, the S&P 500, has been hot. It's been in a strong, tight price range, just going higher and higher. We haven't gotten to where we're ultimately getting. I've predicted 5,500. I don't have a crystal ball, but I am going to hold to that because I believe that when we get through with this dip, we're going to get 4 weeks of recovery, which are going to be very strong, are going to give us that V and push us all the way back up into that S&P channel where we're going to continue on to 5,500. Guys, has there been a lack of predictions on this channel? No. I come out here, right? There's so many people. I watch YouTubers. A lot of them aren't telling you, giving you strong predictions as to where the market's going, but I do. I do. I'm trading those predictions myself. I'm making money on them myself, and I'm laying them out for you guys. So let's just start off by going into that war chart first. Let's check that out. Right here, the Vietnam War, it pulled the markets down, shaded in gray, outlined, underscored in blue, a little V for the Vietnam War. It continued to the upside for quite a while longer. Gulf War. Right beforehand, we pulled back, a little gray shaded area underlined in blue, another V with a very strong move higher and a continuation from there. The Afghanistan War, this is the biggest V we've got on our chart. Now, once it V-shaped recovered, it did then consolidate and fall apart, but we did get a very strong up move after the initial fall from the Afghanistan war. Then you got the Iraq war, another one where the markets, I hate to say it, they love that war. This means that money's going to get spent. It means that that has to be counted into the economy. Money going into the economy pushes stocks higher. And war, unfortunately, is good for business. Another V-shaped recovery and a much push higher. And then we had the Crimean crisis. Again, we have another V-shape and a much stronger push higher. So yes, I'm expecting a V-shaped recovery. And the next question that you should be asking is, okay, Josh, when is that happening? Personally, I gave a target last week. I said we're going to get at minimum a 5 to 6% correction. That's going to put us on the S&P 500 right below the 5,000 mark. I would like to see a reversal there. So here's what I want you guys to understand, because I say a lot of things in these videos and people sometimes they pick and choose ideas of bullishness or bearishness, not based on the balanced view that I'm giving, but based on whether they're bullish, based on whether they're bearish. So when we get down sub that 5,000 on the SPX, the S&P 500, what do we need to confirm whether Josh's potential crystal ball borrowed from Nancy Pelosi is correct? We need to see a really strong, dominant green candle, volume, momentum, making the first green weekly candle to make a new high would confirm to me that we're going all the way back up into the channel. Let me show you guys that with your own eyes so you can see it. So yeah, here's a long-term view. Each of these candles represents a week in the market. The exact thing that I told you last Wednesday was if we closed the week out beneath this channel, that would be bearish, and that we would then need to see whether or not we opened beneath 5,200 on Monday, and that would be a very strong bearish confirmation that we were going to go down to 49.60. That's the exact story I told you. If you guys had aligned your portfolios in puts on Friday and Monday, you would be up hundreds of percent based on this technical guidance I've given you. Now, I'm expecting a fourth candle to bring us down and hit that 49.60. And then after that, I need to see a very dominant green candle pushing us back up, okay? That's what I'm going to be looking for. So right now, I would say we're trending down. The bottom of the V has not been created yet. It's likely to be under 5,000, sub 5,000. 49.60 is my guess, but it could be lower. It could be 49.20. Who knows? But I'll be watching for a strong green, dominant, maybe an engulfing candle to follow. And that would confirm to me that we're going to then move back up into this channel and get back to our $5,500 target. Okay, I'm going to take you guys into the Bitcoin chart real quick so we can get an eye on that. And I want to try to make time for NVIDIA, so let me try to quickly move forward. Here's my point on NVIDIA. Just yesterday in my live Technical Tuesdays with Tim, I told everybody, ignore this green candle that we're in. It's going to fall apart. We were at 881, and I told everybody, ignore it, forget about it. We're coming back to 838, 848 region. Guys, what happened? We got there in one day, massive sell-off. Now, here's what's important. We want to see if we are going to get a candle that ends this week and bounces, so we can come down as low as 830. We can come down as low as 830, right? And as long as we bounce and close the following week, okay, the following week above 848, then that would give me the indication that we're going to continue to the upside on NVIDIA. If, however, we finish this week and we close beneath 838, I'm going to warn you guys that we have a very strong possibility of pulling back as far as 784. That's my downside target. But here's the good news. This is basically a flagpole. This is basically a flag but we're also trending within a descending channel, and these break to the upside. And so at some point, the confirmation that we're going to the target that you guys see I've got up here of around 1125, the confirmation that we're getting up there is going to be a weekly close above 881. So I know that I've laid it all out, but I want to restate it so that you guys have a clear understanding. 840 is roughly your deciding line, right? If we close on the weekly below 840, then make room for a move all the way back to 784. If we close this week and we open next week above 840, then we're going to be watching for a close above 881, and that's going to confirm that much bigger move higher all the way above 1,000 on NVIDIA. So that's how I see it. Let's quickly jump into the Tesla chart. Guys, I have been very clear. I said it in yesterday's video that I practically begged people to short Tesla at 177. I predicted that we would break beneath 160. I pointed out the fact that 160 is a very significant level because it served as support numerous times. Once that area was lost, it confirms a much bigger move down. I would expect the possibility of a back test of 160, and I would expect that as we're moving closer to earnings, that we're going to see a move down further to 150, even sub 150 is possible, down to 140. I don't see why we wouldn't get this in the next 2 weeks. And earnings is next Tuesday, and I think it's going to potentially open up an opportunity to go long on Tesla. And so stay tuned, because if I get the confirmations that I want to see in this Tesla chart, I'm going to let you guys know when I switch from long puts to long calls for a much bigger move back. If we pull out of this weekly view and we go to a longer time frame, what I see is generally we had this dominant move, obviously back up in 2021 all the way to 400. We came down to 100. This was an overreaction. This was an overreaction. We then got back up to 300. Now it looks like we're coming back to 150. I think that this is obviously pretty oversold, but I believe that we're ultimately going to make a higher low compared to the 100. I think we're going to end up around 140 to 150, and then we're going to possibly get back up to around 220 in the course of the rest of this year. That's kind of what I'm watching for right now. So I see a massive opportunity between 140 and roughly 240. There's a $100 move there that might be potentially around the corner for Tesla. I'm going to warn you guys not to underestimate Tesla. These guys are absolutely one of the very best companies, well-run companies in the world. Elon, right now, he's cutting some key employees in the manufacturing of some of the Tesla vehicles. And immediately I thought that's really bullish news, because he's telling Wall Street that he understands that he's in a natural downturn with higher interest rates. People are not going to be buying cars much this year and may not even next year. But if he shows Wall Street that he is the leading EV manufacturer in the world and that he knows how to both grow business and scale business down appropriately in a downturn, then the stock's going to get rewarded again. So there's also a ton of technology coming down the pipeline. There's news stories that can go from bearish to bullish overnight. Wall Street's going to load their bags on the ugly days, and I think there's an ugly day coming for Tesla. Around earnings, after earnings, on earnings, we're going to get to around 140 something. It's going to be an ugly day with bad news, and that's the day that some folks are going to take some risk to the upside. And I'm going to come out and beg you guys again. If you're going to invest in Tesla, if you're going to trade Tesla, you want to identify a reversal off of the lows, not be buying the hype at the end of the year when we're back above 220. That's the wrong time to consider an investment. So if you're going to invest in Tesla, significantly consider around that 140 range. Consider going long right there. That's what I'm doing. But this is not a suggestion for what you should buy, sell, or hold. I'm not begging you to buy Tesla. I'm begging you to be a better investor and to work a trade plan and to buy fear, not greed. That's what that is about, my friends. Okay, I want to see that success. I want to see the success in the comments. I want to see it in the Discord. I love it. I'm living off of hearts, and when you guys tell me that you've made money, that's what we're trying to dive into right now. Hit that subscribe so you can keep getting these types of predictions, actionable predictions that I'm making on this show. Let's take a little bit of time for some Bitcoin. But before I do, I want to take a very quick station break for the MOOMOO investment app. If you need better trade tools, right now, if you deposit $100, they're going to give you 7 fractional shares of the Magnificent Seven. So it's a pretty good offer, as well as the fact that if you just put some cash in there and perhaps wait for Tesla to come back to the right buy price, you can load up while your cash is sitting in there. It's earning you 5.1% interest. And so it's a pretty competitive platform. I personally have always recommended MOOMOO because I like their mobile trading tools. They've got the very best technicals for mobile trading. And I'm also going to be diving in and doing some small tutorials on MOOMOO's options because they just recently had a massive improvement. The options were always great, but there was a little bit tricky on how to read it. If you weren't kind of a technical guy, you might have gotten lost with some of the screens. But they've done a massive improvement to how they visualize and present the options. I'm going to begin to go over that so that some folks can take advantage of it. But I'm going to leave a link for MOOMOO in the description of the video, as well as the top pinned comment. Okay, what's going on with Bitcoin? What's going on with the alts? I've been covering them. And the fact is that right now we are days away from the halving. Largely, I see that the market makers are going to continue to push it down, but we're going to see some turbulence. We're going to see some volatility, and we're going to, at some point, see a V-shaped recovery on Bitcoin as well. So right now, we've got the halving. Right now, we've got war. Right now, we're shaping the bottom of the V, and so I'm expecting some violent moves down, and I think that that could come to an end as we go through this weekend. And so it's extremely important that you begin to take your positions or begin to look at the positions you want to take. Put in some buy orders with some ridiculously low limit prices so that if this thing wicks down over the weekend or throughout this week, that some of those might pick up. That's what I'm doing. You guys do what you want to do. Now, as we said in yesterday's video, that Bitcoin could go down to potentially 55K. That's a possibility. If we get some more of that selling pressure this week, we could get there very, very quickly, and that might have been the bottom. The alts somewhat have stabilized. We'll see a final wick on the alts. Now, I actually produced and shared a list of about 15 alts over in the Discord today. Those are the ones that I'm watching right now, and I'm putting in buy orders right now if those prices come down. They're what I refer to as leading cryptos, best tech, best sectors. If you want to check that out, I'm going to leave a link for the Discord. The Discord is the Stock Squad Patreon. That's where me, Stock Up with Larry Jones, Keenan Grace, and StockMo are sharing trade alerts, technicals, more technicals from this page, and more alerts on stocks and crypto over there on a daily basis. I'm going to leave a link for that for you guys to check it out. Okay, let's get into the Bitcoin chart. Okay, I'm just going to run people through this chart because I think it'll give them some perspective of the risk as well as the opportunity to do that. I'm going to take a real quick long view so you guys can just understand what you're looking at. These are all 4 of the big moves that Bitcoin has experienced that have been surrounding halving events. We're getting ready to hit a halving event. The halving events are on this chart outlined in the white dotted line that runs through the middle of the chart. You guys can see that every single time we got to the halving, it preceded a major move up in the price of Bitcoin. Each and every time, Bitcoin just went off like a rocket ship after those white dotted lines. And we are just days away from hitting that white dotted line. People are estimating this Friday. And so, yes, we could have a huge move up. Now, there's no guarantee of that. But I wanted you guys to just see with your own eyes what's going on right now with Bitcoin. So the range for Bitcoin, if we can close on the monthly candle above 68,346, we want to open and close above 68,000. Right now, we are trending down. But again, I'm just going to show you guys that this is bullish, just like NVIDIA. The shape that I see here is essentially a descending parallel channel. Those often break to the upside. So when we get to exactly where we need to be, which I'm basically saying on this chart, that's 55K. So through some turbulence, we're looking at the weekly time frame. through some turbulence. If we come down here and we wick to 55K, then we could potentially, after this week, begin to move back to the top of this channel, and the following week we could break to the upside. Now that's just a general idea of what might happen. If we fail at 5,500, the key support level after that is indicated on the chart of around 49K. And so if we're going to be in a longer downturn, which I don't see right now, then we would ultimately get down to 49K. I'm expecting some form of a bounce and a retest of the top of the channel. Once we get to 55K, then I think we come back and retest the top of the channel between 67 and 68, and I'll have to give you some fresh technicals at that time. But let's take a big step back and just look at where the price could go overall if we do get a confirmation of these bigger moves. If we do get over the red all-time high line, then yes, we're looking at 171,000 Bitcoin that we will then be targeting. And if that happens, then the alts will be off to the races, and you will want to be in those alts that I gave my list of top alts over in the Discord. You will want to be in those because those are going to 1x and 2x and 3x if Bitcoin does make this move that is a very strong possibility. So the price range, 49K on the lowest end, 55 is what we're watching. 68 is where we need to get a confirmation for the breakout move higher. Those are your key levels on Bitcoin. That wraps me up for today. I think you'll find me over on Stock Up with Larry Jones's page in about an hour or two. We're going to have a great conversation. I always can unload more thoughts on the market organically in the live setting than when I pre-record. Then I'm just trying to remember everything I'm trying to lay out for you guys. I hope that you enjoyed the show. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for hitting the like. Thank you for showing that love in the comment section. We're going to continue to do what we do on this page, and we're going to continue to grow the market. I think there's opportunity here. Don't get too bearish. Realize, don't jump in too early. I just got done showing you in big tech stocks and Bitcoin, I'm expecting more room to the downside. This week and next week could be ugly, but we're going to find the reversal potentially next week in stocks and Bitcoin, I believe, and that's what I'm going to be watching for. That doesn't mean go all in. It means watch for confirmation. Once we get the confirmation, I share that on these videos, then we can have our confidence increase that we're in a V-shaped recovery like it has been typical in the past during war-torn moments. The economy's strong. It's too strong. The Fed won't lower rates because it's just too strong. And so that means big tech can climb higher. NVIDIA's just experiencing the sell-off that I predicted. They must have heard me. I said that it was going down to 840, and that's where we went today. But there's a little bit room down for it to go lower, and then off to the races. Amazon, I think the same thing. Amazon and Google, I gave technicals in the Discord for them. Exactly where I see it pulling back to. And again, I think those are actually looking very strong as well once we get to those levels. Guys, thanks again for joining me. As always, peace and blessings. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.